All right, let's open this up. I want you to imagine we're in some deep, forgotten archive. The air's still, the light is dim, and we've just found a secret file from the shadow cabinet. And what's inside is this profound, maybe even heretical critique of what drives us. It's a parable, really. And this is where it begins. So the file calls the system the vile economy of the martyr. And what is that? Well, it's a way of looking at virtue not as how you live, but as an investment in how you die. It's basically a pathetic IOU for a reward in heaven that, might never even show up. In this economy, a saint's blood is treated like a hot stock, a big public performance traded for a guaranteed return in the next life. And this quote, this really gets to the core of it. This big, grand gesture of sacrifice, the archives argue it's not bravery at all. It's actually the ultimate act of cowardice. And you have to ask, why? Because it's a way out. It's an escape hatch from the messy, chaotic, but absolutely beautiful and necessary business of living. It's just refusing to play the game. So when you peel it all back, this whole system is built on fear. The parable just rips off the golden masks of sainthood and shows you the terror hiding underneath. It says that a few moments of public sacrifice can never, ever replace a lifetime of really living. This whole economy is designed for a fragmented soul, one that's just too scared to face the world in all its brutal and joyful reality. Okay, so how does an economy like this even keep going? The archives get into the tools used to keep the masses distracted, to keep them safe, not from danger, but from life itself. And these tools are called the shields of the herd. The main trick is theatricality. These public displays of sacrifice, they're like scripted dramas in a marketplace of easy answers. The file calls the audience the credulous mob, and they love these stories. Why? Because every story of a martyr justifies their own choice to not live an authentic, challenging life. The whole spectacle just becomes a shield, hiding their souls from the real pain and the real joy of creation. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You've got two paths. On the left, the jagged peaks of potential. That's the hard climb, the path toward what the file calls the overman, becoming everything you can be, through struggle. And on the right, the verdant valley of comfort. It's safe, it's shielded. And the herd, well, they much prefer the valley. The martyr gives them the perfect excuse to just stay put. Now, to make this real, the archives give us a case study, the Neapolitan ritual of calling on faccia gialla, or yellow face. This is a perfect, almost painfully vivid example of this spiritual tiredness, this deep desire for a life without any real effort. You see, when the faithful are pleading for this miracle, what the archivist sees is a desperate cry for unearned safety. This embodies the spirit of what they call the last man, the kind of person who just wants comfort and security, who avoids any and all effort to grow. This whole ritual is a symptom of a slave morality, a system that values safety above all else, a poison the herd drinks to avoid the necessary pain of becoming more than they are. Of course, every system like this needs an architect. And in our parable, the guy who builds this gilded cage is a figure named Salvio Pallido. His title? The High Priest of the Polished Floor. He's the one who turns all of this fear into an official belief system. So what's Salvio selling to people who are terrified of the big, scary void of existence? He offers them this new trinity: safety, comfort, and, of course, stagnation. He promises the herd immunity from the chaotic, painful spirit of becoming. He basically takes the tightrope of life, lowers it until it's just a line drawn on the floor, and tries to prove that the dangerous void below isn't even real. But there's a final judgment for our friend Salvio. His soul, trapped in its own stale reflection, is rejected by the Council of Inferno. And the reason they give is just brutal. A soul without aspirations is too small to burn. Because there was no fire in him, his fate is to just bury the living in a world of curated luxury, putting out any spark in others, just like he did in himself. And now, everything changes. The parable takes a sharp turn. In total opposition to these melting relics and the martyr's economy, the shadow cabinet offers up its own miracle, one that's profound and a whole lot harder. Let's just compare the two. The martyr's miracle is the liquefaction of dried, dead blood, a show for the crowd. But the creator's miracle, the one from the archives, is the liquefaction of the living soul. This is an inside job. It's way more noble and infinitely more difficult. So how does this miracle actually happen? First step, you have to thaw the frozen heart. This means breaking out of that long, bitter winter of doing what you're told, of resentment, of all the old rules that keep your soul locked up and safe. And once it's thawed, the soul starts to wake up. It stops wanting the safety of the harbor. Instead, it starts to yearn for the open, untamed, unpredictable sea of becoming. It wants the very chaos that the martyr was so desperate to escape. And the last step is a total flip. It's like a metamorphosis in reverse, away from the exhaustion of the last man. It's a powerful, fierce acceptance of fate, a joyous yes to everything life throws at you. The creator has to drive nails into their own desire for comfort to actually give birth to something new. And this is what it looks like from the other side, the awakened soul. It sees the martyr's big show and doesn't see holiness, it sees a self-important corpse. It rejects that pious surrender. True courage isn't found in dying for some promised future, but in relentlessly, joyfully saying yes to life, right here and now. You don't need a heaven somewhere else. Which brings us to the end of the parable, the epilogue. And it's one last powerful metaphor from the archives, a call for brave companions who are willing to walk a totally different path. So here's the path of self-creation. And listen, it is not for the faint of heart. It starts with leaving that cozy valley and the herd behind. It means you have to climb the jagged peaks of your own potential, alone. Then you have to admit that there is a void right under the polished surface of life. And finally, you have to shatter that mirror that tells you who you're supposed to be. And this part is absolutely crucial. The point isn't to be safe. It's not about never falling. Mastering the tightrope of life is all about finding your balance while the chaotic winds of creation are blowing all around you. It's about engaging with the risk, not running from it. And this act, balancing over the abyss, that's what defines the overman we talked about earlier. This is the person who isn't looking for a savior or some miracle from the outside. Instead, they master the art of dying, letting old versions of themselves die, facing mortality head-on, so that they can finally, truly, and authentically live. In a world full of distractions, that struggle is the only honest currency left. So the parable leaves us with a question, a very direct, very provocative question. It's asking all of us, what's the choice? Do you stay in the safe valley with the herd watching the shows, or do you take that first step and start the climb, alone? And with that, the archivist closes the file. The story is told, but the final image is one of pure, powerful potential. The file might be shut, but the challenge? That's still here. The wire is still stretched out over the abyss, just waiting for anyone who's ready to embrace the risk of their own becoming.